Okay, so I just looked at the some of the comments on the narcissism and scapegoating video, and somebody posted something interesting saying that they feel immensely guilty, and that despite the fact that they know and they now understand the psychological processes of what is going on, they still feel burdened by huge feelings of guilt. So there's a couple of key points here. One of the annoying things about psychology is understanding is not enough. Understanding actually is nowhere near enough. Understanding at first will only occur at the conscious and intellectual level. It's only going to tickle you in your prefrontal lobes. Sadly, that's not where the emotion is rooted. You need to find a way of getting that understanding down into the unconscious and helping the unconscious, the inner child, the other parts of the personality to get a real deep understanding so that your whole map of reality changes. When you have a breakthrough in therapy, when you learn something, or when you heal, it's always going to be related to a shift in your belief system, and your whole map of reality must change, even to a small degree. What happens when that happens? Well, obviously, it's a system. It's like we need to engage in not just critical thinking, but systems thinking. If I change something over here in the system, the whole system changes. So if you do get to grips with the fact that your family has been scapegoating you because they needed a scapegoat, they needed to make you the bad guy, the bad girl, the black sheep of the family, and then you realize that's what they're doing, and you haven't quite internalized that understanding yet, but then over time you slowly begin to internalize the understanding. As you shift, you will experience turbulence because your energy will change, your attitude will change back to them, and then the whole system changes. This can frequently will result in massive amounts of friction. You will start to argue with people, you will cease to give them the energy that they're looking for, and you'll start to fight back, which is good. That's a normal, animal, human thing to do, is to defend yourself, defend your territory, defend your boundaries, and to fight back. It can be difficult, it can be upsetting. A lot of therapy work we have to deal with a lot of dirty emotions coming up, unpleasant. It's like pus, you get that wound, you get into that boil, that cyst, whatever you want to call it, you lance it, and what comes out is just disgusting, filthy mess, and you don't want any part of that mess. But the point about the idea of transcendence is not to avoid pain. Carl Jung said all neuroses are the result of an attempt by the individual to avoid legitimate suffering. There are things in life that you have to go through that fucking hurt. Suck it up, you've got to do it. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And the word transcendence means go through. The word transcendence does not mean go around. You don't avoid the pain to become better and to transcend the situation. You've got to actually go through the pain. And that transcendence can improve you, it can strengthen you, it can make you a better human being. I'm not of the Nietzschean outlook that everything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Sometimes the things that don't kill you just leave massive scars and leave you with bits falling off. But what we hope for is to, at least at some level, is to have learned something and to become a stronger individual. So one of the points that, I can't remember who said this, it was a spiritual master I used to listen to a lot. He said about Buddhism, the symbol of Buddhism is the lotus. And he made the interesting point that the lotus usually grows in, most plants and flowers, it grows in mud, very muddy, water-rich environments, and it grows up through the dirt, it grows up through the filth. And that was his point about transcendence, and the reason why Buddhism uses the lotus as its symbol is that you are to go through suffering, not avoid. You know about Buddhism, right? The Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, all of life is suffering, there is a way to get past suffering, the way to get past suffering is to detach, the way you detach is by following the Noble Eightfold Path. There's a lot of Buddhism that can be applied to modern psychotherapy, and better minds than mine have already tackled that. If you're interested in it, just Google Zen psychotherapy, those two words together, and you'll find some really, really interesting stuff. But the point of that is to go through it. The lotus grows towards the light, through dirt, through filth, through negative feedback from the environment that's trying to push it down, but it just keeps going and it keeps flying upward. That's the attitude we need to have. When it comes to your family, as painful as it might be, you might need to learn to grow up to the point where you don't need a family anymore, where you become your own family, or indeed you start your own family. That has been the only solution that I've found that has been workable, is to just detach from it and just abandon it, because there's too much mess there, and I am one individual, and in order to make that a positive family system and a healthy environment, I'd have to go through and give therapy to everybody in that environment, but everybody in that environment doesn't want therapy, and they certainly fucking don't want it from fucking me. So it becomes an impossible task, and I just say, okay, it's an impossible task, let go. I just let it go. To quote Eckhart Tolle, do not seek for consciousness where there is none. I think I quoted Ram Dass on the last video. Ram Dass said, if you think you're so fucking spiritually enlightened, go and spend a weekend with your family and tell me how you do after that. He didn't say fucking. He said, if you think you're so enlightened, go and spend a weekend with your family. It's tough. It's going to push a lot of emotional triggers for you, a lot of psychological triggers for you, and it's going to bring out a lot of negative psychological stuff. So, somebody else on that same video about scapegoating and dealing with narcissists and dealing with mobbing asked me, how did you overcome it? He asked, how did you cause your family to change their view of you? Was it through good deeds and, you know, status and being seen as a different person? No. I've seen people in my position try and do that. There's a girl I'm in contact with right now, actually, who made me, who was the inspiration for that video. And I've seen her trying to do that. She's trying to prove by being, she's kind of a public figure, and by doing good deeds and by proving and showing, and, you know, there's stuff all over Facebook, and it's quite, not neurotic, but it's bordering on neurotic. I'm showing you that I'm a different person now, and I don't want to be treated like that anymore. Doesn't make any fucking difference, okay? Let's imagine for a second that I'm not rational. I don't care about psychology. I don't give a fuck about philosophy. Fuck that shit. I need you to be a piece of shit. I need you to be the piece of shit that I'm telling you you are, because it makes me feel better. I don't give a fuck about what's right and wrong. I'm not going to sit here and pontificate about morality. I have never once lain awake at night going, is this the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do? That's the person I'm being, okay? Doesn't matter what you do. If I need you to be a piece of shit, I'll turn every good deed into shit. So you can go to Africa and work for free for a charity and spend all your savings in the service of others. And I'll say, you fucking narcissist, look at you. Who do you fucking think you are? You know, running away to a foreign country and pretending to do good things. Even if you stayed in the country of your origin and you did good charitable deeds all the time. I could turn anything. I can turn gold into shit, because the human mind can do that. And I'm deeply invested in doing that, because I need you to be a prick. Because you not being a piece of shit, because you not being a prick is going to impact on my self-esteem. So I'm deeply invested in keeping you down there in the mud, right? There's a recurrent theme in this video. So you have to detach from the good or bad opinions of others. That's written in various personal development and spiritual works. It's actually a really good piece of advice. Find the way to detach from the good or bad opinion of others. Are you ever going to completely detach? I doubt it. Humans are very tribal creatures. But if you walk the path of detachment, so if you can get along the path to be detached, to be more detached to people's good opinion of you, to be more detached to people's bad opinion of you, then you can maybe not be free, but you can experience moments of freedom. Do you see how fucking low I set the bar here? No, I'm a realist. I think, like, if you've been indoctrinated to think a certain way up until the age of 12, you're probably not going to escape that psychological prison in this lifetime. Not truly. But I think that we can vastly improve our conditions. We can move into a bigger prison cell, get more privileges and shit. And that's what I go for. And as somebody pointed out on this channel, it's kind of a stoic philosophy. So if you are finding yourself the victim of narcissism, of bullying, of mobbing, of being scapegoated, try to remember where your boundaries are and where other people's boundaries are. So remember where you begin and where you end. Somebody telling you you're a piece of shit does not make you a piece of shit. Somebody telling you you're a piece of shit is just somebody telling you you're a piece of shit. That's actually a very scientific, objective way of looking at reality. Buddhism and science, to me, sit side by side. I actually think Buddhism is probably the birth of, if we look historically, it's the most scientific approach to reality because it's based on observation. The Four Noble Truths are, I observe that there is suffering, I observe that there is pain. Prince Siddhartha was a very rich kid. He was a spoiled little fucking Indian brat who was raised in a palace where his precious daddy didn't want him to see any pain or any suffering. So there were no sick people, there was no old people, and there was no death. Naughty little Prince Siddhartha then escaped the palace, escaped all the concubines and all the riches and the jewellery and the comfort, and went outside into the real world, and what did he see? Well, he was walking around ancient India, so he probably didn't fucking walk 50 metres before he fell over a corpse. And that within the story, that's what he saw. He saw corpses rotting, he saw people dismembered, begging on the streets, he saw huge amounts of suffering, and that had a very deep impact on him. And he observed all of life as suffering, so it's actually a very scientific point of view. So I would like you to adopt that scientific Zen Buddhist style detachment if you're experiencing this, and learn the Diamond Sutra. You'll have to go and look it up if you really care, and learn to say, okay, feedback to your own mind, this person is being abusive to me now. I'm breathing, I'm inside my own body, I'm in the moment, and this person is being abusive to me right now. You don't need to think or feel anything more than that. You have to think and feel that. You have to observe that they're there. You can't ignore them, but just say, okay, this person is feeling abusive towards me now. And if you feel angry and sad and guilty and depressed, don't fight it. Say to yourself, I feel sad now. This person was abusive to me and I now feel sad and angry and guilty and depressed. That's the beginning. It starts with this Zen approach, this detached approach of going, okay, I observe science, I observe the reality of what is occurring. The Four Noble Truths, I don't want to be a religious nutcase and bang on about this. I don't particularly consider myself a Buddhist because I don't really consider it a religion. The Four Noble Truths are, one is life is suffering. I observe suffering. 2, the cause of suffering is detachment. 3, the end of suffering is brought about by detachment, by following the Eightfold Path. And then 4, there is the description of the Eightfold Path, which is like right livelihood, right intention, right thought, right word, right deed, right meditation, something and something else. So you actually you clean up your act and then you're off the hook of detachment. Clean up your act and you're off the hook. That's one of what my spiritual teachers when I was very young used to say to me all the time. She said, clean up your act and you will be off the hook. The hook represents attachment, in case that metaphor is not obvious enough for you. Addiction, attachment. You know, I say something and you're triggered into feeling a certain way. That's not how it has to be. You can overcome that. So I always compare that to the OODA loop. You've probably heard of that: observation, orientation, decision, and action. This was a psychological sort of a technique or a mnemonic to help guys who had to make decisions very, very quickly in the moment to understand what their brain was doing when they were processing quick decisions. Observation, orientation, decision, action. Observation, there is suffering. Orientation, the cause of suffering is attachment. Decision, observation, orientation, decision. I can do something about the suffering by becoming less detached and take action. I will now engage in practicing right thought, right word, right deed, right meditation. I keep trying to go to say white word. So racist. So these are the things that I'm giving you, tools and techniques to try and help you. But if you're stuck in these scenarios, it's fucking hard, and I know it's hard. The next step is then that you must learn to fight. You're going to have to learn to fight back. You have to learn to assert your boundaries. Part of your guilt, part of your depression, part of your rage. You're never angrier than when you're angry with yourself. So part of your guilt, depression and rage is that you don't fight your own corner, that you don't fight back. And I'm not saying pick up a frying pan and smash your fucking father in the face with it. Please don't do that. You've got to find what your unconscious self needs in order to feel backed up. Sometimes it's enough to just say to somebody, don't fucking talk to me like that. It's no big deal. You know, it's not worthy of a film, it's not worthy of a book, it's not even a particularly good story. You know, somebody said this to me and I didn't like it, so I said, don't fucking talk to me like that. Cool story, bro. You know, but it's an essential component of being a natural I nearly said normie then. What the fuck is wrong with me today? Normal, healthy human being is to be able to say no, and to be able to assert a boundary and say, I don't want to do that. I don't want you talking to me like that. Then if that person continues, then you keep fighting your corner. What your unconscious needs is not necessarily success all the time. Your unconscious is a realist. It doesn't expect you to live a perfect life. Only the media has trained you to think like that. It's hypnotized you into thinking like that. Your unconscious doesn't need you to live a perfect life. Your unconscious needs you to just do your best. Your unconscious needs you to try. Fighting your corner means asserting your boundaries. When your family's kicking off with you and giving you shit, is either assert the boundary or find a way to get out. When you assert the boundary, by the way, it's not magic. You'll get more shit piled on you. Yay. So when you fight back, then they'll fight you even harder. Mixed results. Sometimes people do back down, sometimes they fight back harder, sometimes it changes stuff, sometimes it makes things worse. There's no fucking guarantees. A sick family system, and most family systems that I'm aware of are sick to some degree, is a real killer. It really is. It's like wrestling with a pig. I don't know if it's Mark Twain who said it. I think it's like some American humorist from the turn of the last century, like the Industrial Revolution age, said of arguing with idiots, it's like wrestling with a pig, because both of you get dirty, but only the pig enjoys it. It's a great phrase, it's a great quote to bring out when you're handling trolls sometimes. So yeah, okay, that's enough of me fucking rambling on about that. If you've got any more questions about the subject, then please just post them below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.